guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lauren and I'm really excited to start going over this whole foster care process with you. Whether you're here to hear about me and my husband's story on why we're becoming foster parents or kind of the whole process of it, I'm just glad that you're here to have this very casual conversation with me. So the why on why we're becoming foster parents is I'm just going to take you quickly back to when I was a little girl and people would ask me, what do you want to be when you're older? And I would always say a mom. It was just something I always wanted to be, and I didn't have this image in my head even from a young age of having just my own biological kids. I always saw adoption in my future family. I think a lot of it came from the fact that my mom was adopted, and a lot of people in our churches that I went to growing up had adopted kids, and it was just something beautiful I saw and I wanted to incorporate into my life. Then when I was about 14, me and my friend one day were talking and we decided we wanted to have an orphanage someday. So we literally filled up notebooks and notebooks with like floor plans and what our garden would look like and security and how we would be funded and all this stuff. And even though I'd still gladly take an orphanage and do all of that, it wasn't in my path, and I realized that just in America, just in my town, there are kids that don't have parents right now that really need them. And it was just something I became passionate about and heard about foster care and knew that was something I wanted to do. So then fast forward, I'm 19, I'm living at summer camp, and I meet this guy. And I was absolutely not looking for a relationship. I did not want to date. That's a different story for a different time. But this guy got me on a date, and I am now married to that man. But on our first date, I just was like, you know what? I've had crappy relationships in the past. I don't care if this is too forward. I'm just getting to all the hard questions so we know if this is going to work or not, or if it has a chance or not. And one of the questions I asked was if he would ever see himself being a foster dad. And it didn't have to be like a yes, but it definitely couldn't be a hard no. He was honest about it, and he just was like, you know what, I actually haven't ever thought about being a foster parent before, but like he got kind of excited thinking about it. Like he had that like passion inside of him that he didn't even realize till I'd asked that question. So he passed that test and we dated for less than 10 months before we got married. So we get married and we were completely broke. Like when I say broke, it's not like, oh, we're broke. Like we had zero money and we barely made it through, and then we both were working our butts off. We both worked in a factory in the inner city, and we worked ourselves up to having enough money to get our first own apartment. The apartment we had was so tiny. It was 400 square feet and had one teeny tiny bedroom with just enough room for a bed, and we made it work. But obviously we couldn't be foster parents yet, and we were still building up our savings account and everything like that. So we lived in that apartment for about 10 months, and then we moved to the beautiful home we're in now, where God really blessed us with really good jobs. And I can't believe how far we've come in 2 years, honestly. And that's not in a conceited, confident, in a cocky way of look at our home, you know what I mean? But in a very humble, I know what it's like to eat mac and cheese with only vegetable oil, no milk, no butter, nothing. And so yeah, we're really blessed to be where we are now. And with that blessing that God gave us, we want to now bless others. And we've lived in this home for about a year, but in that year, we still weren't called, we always felt called to be foster parents, but it was never now's the time. And I think it's always important to listen to God's timing, because if you don't, I've tried to rush God's timing and it's not a fun ride at all. And then about 5 weeks ago, I was walking past our extra bedroom and I look in and I just had this kind of vision of 3 kids in there, and they were all younger, and then I was pregnant, and it just kind of overwhelmed me with how clear it was. And I just felt God saying it's now time to start this foster care process.